Welcome to the AJEX service of Commemoration. I'm Fiona Palmer, the CEO of AJEX, and I want to thank you all for joining us at this first virtual service. Before we proceed, I want to thank everyone who's helped us to put this together, from our members and supporters in their own homes, to students in their garden, and all the staff and volunteers behind the scenes. We hope you'll appreciate that the quality of the filming reflects the way we've put this service together, because it was important for us to make it happen. We know that the message it presents is far stronger than any of the issues that technology can throw at us. And now, let us start our service of commemoration.
Friends, firstly may I warmly welcome you all to this Veterans Day annual service of remembrance, which due to the current COVID-19 restrictions is being conducted in a virtual online medium instead of gathering together as we would normally have done at our own memorial at the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire. Despite the current COVID crisis and the closure of the National Memorial Arboretum to public events, our spirit is not broken, and we come together today through the magic of cyberspace to commemorate our fallen brothers and sisters from 2 world wars. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the HQ staff at AJEX HQ and our incredible volunteers who've made this virtual ceremony possible, who are all truly fantastic people. As members of AJEX, we are of course no strangers to commemorating and remembering those Jewish servicemen and women who fell in the line of duty. Remembrance is one of the 3 core pillars of AJEX, those 3 pillars being welfare, education and remembrance. It is an honour and a privilege to join with you all today to commemorate all those who fell and whose memories we will always cherish. My friends, I thank each and every one of you for being here today, and in particular I wish to thank our distinguished patron, Sir Malcolm Rifkind, and the President of the Board of Deputies, Marie van der Zeel, for joining us in this service of remembrance. I also want to pay tribute to the wonderful members of our Armed Forces Jewish community, which comprises hundreds of Jewish men and women who are still serving and protecting our freedom. I will now hand over to our inspiring chaplain, Rabbi Major Reuben Livingston, who will lead us in prayer.
Greetings all. Normally, we would find ourselves gathering at Al Ruwas at the National Memorial Arboretum for a service of memory and celebration in honor of Armed Forces Week and remembering those from our Jewish community who paid the ultimate price in their service. This year, we are in a very different climate and in a very different circumstance. That being said, I'd like to think it's an opportunity, because when it comes to remembrance and memory, these things are internal. These things are not linked to places. They are carried within our hearts and our minds. And as such, we have an opportunity to remind ourselves of Jewish sacrifice and of Jewish citizenship and loyalty to this crown through a service that will be without bounds and without boundaries. I'd like to start this particular service with a memorial prayer. The memorial prayer is said for all those who laid down their lives in the service of Crown and country. Those Jews who enter that category will be from a host of eras. They will be from the Boer War. They will be from the First World War. They will be from the Second World War. They will also be from those who served in subsequent conflicts and unto this very day. So that memory and that remembrance spans a great volume of history and a great deal of time. Beyond that, we also remember the 6 million victims of the Holocaust. For even as we celebrate VE, Victory in Europe Day, and we celebrate the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Bergen-Belsen and of other concentration camps, more to the point, we remember our co-religionists and others who died in that conflict, and indeed, tragically, in that Holocaust. אל מלא רחמים השוכן במרומים, עמסי מנוחה נכונות, תחת כנפי השכינה. במעלוז קדושים וטהורים כזוהר אורוקים ומזהירים. אס נשמעוז כל אנשי החיל אשר הרו למובס נפשם בעד מלכם וארצו בם. ויס נשמעוז 6,000,000 אחים ואחיותינו הקדושים והטהורים. אנו בעלו רחם מסתירים בסייסה כנופך לעולמים. בצורה חיים אס נשמעסם. אדוני הוא נחלסם. ינוחו ושלום על משכבם, ונאמר Amen. Lord, who is full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant perfect rest beneath the shelter of your divine presence, in the exalted places among the holy and the pure who shine as the brightness of the heavens, to all who have bravely laid down their lives in the service of the crown, and to the 6,000,000 victims of the Holocaust. We beseech you, Lord of compassion, shelter them forevermore under the cover of your wings, and let their souls be bound up in the bond of eternal life. The Lord is their inheritance. May they rest in peace. And together let us say, Amen. We turn now to a short but very beautiful psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, Psalm 23. AJEX, in gathering to remember its fallen comrades, has uttered this particular psalm many, many times over. And indeed, it is a central comfort to us in our liturgy to remember always that even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, the Divine Spirit is always alongside. And we say it in English. A psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me on the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup is filled to overflowing. Surely happiness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forevermore. Finally, we always add a prayer for the safety of the British Armed Forces, those who are currently serving, and this because AJEX represents an ethos of service. Many of its members have served, and we show great solidarity to the Armed Forces Jewish community who currently serve, and indeed to all those who serve this crown unto this very day. Ati b'morom shochen b'gvura, melech shalom shelo. God on high, who dwells in might, the King to whom peace belongs, look down from your holy habitation and bless the servicemen and women of the British Armed Forces who risk their lives for the sake of peace on earth. Be their shelter and stronghold, and let them not falter. Give them the strength and courage to thwart the plans of those that oppose them, and ultimately to end the rule of evil. May their foes be scattered and flee before them, and may they rejoice in your salvation. Always bring them safely back to their homes. As it is written, the Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your life. The Lord will guard your going and coming now and forevermore. May they be fulfilled for us the verse, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, nor shall they learn war any more. Let all the inhabitants on earth know that sovereignty is yours, and your name inspires awe over all you have created. And together let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Livingstone, for that very moving reflection. And now, the keynote address from our patron, the distinguished Sir Malcolm Rifkind.
I am delighted as a patron of AJEX to have this opportunity to make a contribution at this Veterans Day service. I don't have the privilege of having served in the armed forces, but I did for 3 years as Secretary of State for Defense work with the senior military in the Ministry of Defense, and found that a most rewarding experience. To my surprise, I subsequently was invited to become the Honorary Colonel of a reserve regiment in the Royal Logistics Corps, and did that work for another 8 years. So I'm very familiar with veterans issues. And I am indeed currently chairman of the Commonwealth Veterans Review Committee, which is working with the service charities to help provide help for very aged Commonwealth veterans in Africa, Asia, and elsewhere in their 80s and 90s who need extra help. Now, today's Veterans Service takes place in a way which is quite different in three respects from the normal situation. First of all, this is, of course, the 75th anniversary of VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. Now, sadly, very few of those who participated in that conflict are able to be around now. But we all honor their memory and their contribution, and we recognize the extraordinary difference it made to our lives, as well as the lives of their own generation. I'm post-war generation, I'm 1946, and because I didn't have a career in the armed forces, I and the rest of the country have not faced Britain's direct involvement in warfare. It's not affected this island directly over the whole of the last half century. But we're conscious that there are many veterans, including you who are watching this event, who have taken part in conflicts on behalf of the United Kingdom and as part of an international contribution, whether in Korea, in the Falklands, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and elsewhere. And many were wounded and some paid the supreme sacrifice. So that is an extraordinary anniversary and one that we cherish and remember today. I said there were three reasons why this is a very special event. The second, of course, is this ceremony is taking place in the midst of the COVID coronavirus crisis, and therefore uniquely in the last 75 years, we are unable to meet, you are unable as veterans to meet physically in the same place to carry out these very important obligations as veterans, remembering your colleagues and what they have done in the past and what is needed today. And yet we have seen over the last few weeks, not just in the armed forces or with the veterans, but in the wider community, a tremendous sense of community spirit as people have come together in this very difficult time to give maximum help to those who need that help in a way that we have not seen for a long time. Indeed, some of those who did live during the Second World War say it reminds them of the atmosphere, the camaraderie of the Blitz. And in some respects, one can see what they mean. And we've also, of course, now got this extraordinary technology, which I'm using at this very moment, which has not been available in the past, so that we can all have this veteran service with the benefit of the technology that exists. I said there were three reasons why today was very special, and this year was very special, because it's not just the 75th anniversary of the end of the war in Europe. As Jewish veterans, as a Jewish organization representing Jewish ex-servicemen, we are also conscious that this is the 75th anniversary of the end of the Holocaust, one of the most awful moments or periods in human history, and especially in the history of Europe and of those who experienced these terrible events. And many of us involved today, many of you as veterans will also have family reasons, personal reasons, why the Holocaust was something that touches directly on our own family past. So lots of reasons to remember and to commemorate, and that is important. But I want to conclude by simply saying, of course, AJEX is not just about the past. The past continues to have an impact on the present and will do for the future. AJEX is also about helping the personal needs, the health reasons, the family reasons why ex-servicemen and ex-servicewomen in increasing numbers do need support that can be provided by an organization like AJEX. One of my own other current responsibilities at the moment is as a Vice President of Combat Stress, which is the Armed Forces charity that deals with mental health problems of those who have served and sometimes years later continue to have traumatic problems arising out of their service. So I conclude simply by saying these are important days. You all have made your contribution and will continue to do so. And I know you will join with me in wishing AJEX, which is going through, like all charities, all service charities and other charities, difficult problems at this moment, wishing AJEX well in the work that they need to do, not only for today's veterans, but it will continue for tomorrow's veterans as well. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Sir Malcolm. And now, a reading from Ruth, who is currently serving and is a member of the Armed Forces Jewish community.
At events like this, it is easy to quote the leaders and generals, but victory in the Second World War also required the strength and fortitude of the ordinary soldiers, sailors and airmen, and those on the home front. I want to tell you about one of the ordinary women whose role was not huge, but she was an essential cog in the huge machinery of the Allied war effort. Anne Mendoza was born in Hackney in June 1919 and grew up in an Orthodox household. She was a relative of the famous British Jewish boxer Daniel Mendoza, and she attended school locally, then gained secretarial skills at Pitman's College. In 1940, she moved with her family to the village of Bletchley, just outside London, to escape the bombing. Anne found out that a local government office was recruiting for staff, and she applied. Despite a difficult interview with an official who questioned her loyalty as a British Jew, she was taken on and sent to work at the library in Bletchley Park, now known to us all as the home of the codebreakers. Anne's typing and administrative skills were quickly appreciated, and she was transferred to Hut 4, Naval Section, to type out decoded messages for forwarding. Bletchley Park was not an easy place to work, with its huge numbers of people, high secrecy, and mix of military and mathematicians. Nonetheless, Anne thrived at her work and became a manager to 80 staff on 4 rotas. Anne recalled the importance of telegrams, visiting the plotting room to try and find news of her 2 brothers, both serving at sea, and being present at the visit of the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill. Anne Mendoza, later Anne Ross, left Bletchley Park after the end of the war, later returning for reunions and anniversaries. While Anne's story is not remarkable, it is important, and her contribution essential. So today and this week, I want to say thank you to Anne and the many ordinary people who enabled this country to defeat Nazism.
Thank you, Ruth. In this next section, we will observe the act of remembrance with the reading of the exaltation, the playing of the last post, a 2-minute silence including the laying of a wreath at Bushey Cemetery War Memorial, the Reveille and the Kohima epitaph read by President of the Board of Deputies, Marie van der Zel. This will be immediately followed by students of Hasmonean School reading 2 poems about the war in the air in respect of the anniversary of the Battle of Britain, which starts in July, and a student of JFS reading the important war poem in Flanders Fields.
The exaltation comes from Lawrence Binyon's poem For the Fallen, written in 1914 after he had visited the Western Front and seen the carnage. There are a number of verses. I'm merely going to recite 2 of them, the 3rd and the 4th, and the 4th is the actual exaltation. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
I'm Marie van der Zil, President of the Board of Deputies of British Jews. The Kohima Epitaph. The Battle of Kohima, fought between April and June 1944 in northern India, was a hard-fought battle whereby British troops, including many men of the British Indian forces, prevented the Japanese forces from invading India. It provided a turning point on the war, but resulted in many casualties. The Kohima Epitaph is the epitaph carved on the memorial of the 2nd British Division in the cemetery of Kohima, northeast India. The verse is attributable to John Maxwell Edmonds, 1875 to 1958, and is thought to have been inspired by the epitaph written by Simonides to honour the Greeks who fell at the Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC. The Kohima epitaph provides a fitting tribute to the fallen and a reminder of the sacrifice so many made during the Second World War. It reads, "When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today."
The War in the Air by Howard Nemerov. For a saving grace we didn't see our dead, who rarely bothered coming home to die, but simply stayed away out there in the clean war, the war in the air. Stars and the ghosts came back bearing their tales of hitting the earth, the incompressible sea that stayed up there in the relative wind, shades fading in the mind.
Who had no graves but only epitaphs, where never so many spoke for never so few. Per ardua said the partisans of Mars, per aspera to the stars. That was the good war, the war we won, as if there was no death for goodness sake. With the help of the losers we left out there, in the air, the empty air.
Parachute descent, David Bourne. Snap back the canopy, pull out the oxygen tube, flick the harness pin, and slap out into the air, clear of the machine. You knew that you must float from the sun above the clouds to the gloom beneath, from a world of rare-filled splendour to one of sheep and dirt, close-knit, in its efforts to encompass man in death.
In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row. Now mark our place, and in the sky, the larks so bravely, singing, fly. Saucers heard amid the guns below, we are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. If you have faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, through poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
Despite delivering this event as an at-home ceremony, it has been a very special experience, and we hope all of you have joined us and viewed this digital content, feel inspired and uplifted. Thank you to all of our contributors and special guests Sir Malcolm Rivkind and Marie van der Zil, and to our Chief Executive Fiona Palmer, and the AJEX HQ team and volunteers who've made this commemoration possible. We're already looking towards November and National Remembrance Week, and we're working hard to prepare a number of options. If this is likely, we're unable to all come together in our usual annual remembrance ceremony and parade at the Cenotaph, I promise you that we will move heaven and earth to deliver a fitting remembrance event, whatever the circumstances may be. So please look out online for our AJEX campaign for Remembrance 2020. In the run-up to Remembrance Week, we'll be including all kinds of new activities for all ages, and we hope you will take part. Finally, thank you again for joining us today, and stay safe and well.